Hi everybody, we finally got it figured out and waiting for Elyse. Hi Elyse.
Hi, we
We,
did it.
we did it. Took us a while to figure out,
Yes,
but
well,
we're in there. Hi
17
everybody.
minutes late.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. So, um, as I said to you before, I'm so glad you're here. You have so much wealth of knowledge, but you have to introduce yourself because you have so many credentials that I didn't have time. I didn't think I could write them all down. So if you want to introduce what you do and who you are and where you're from.
Sure. Yes, I know it's a huge mouthful. I am Elyse Salley. I founded Serenity Family Solutions, and I am a licensed and board certified behavior analyst, a Florida Supreme Court family mediator, qualified parenting coordinator in 5th, 7th, and 18th circuits in Florida, and I feel like I'm forgetting something. I also do collaborative family practice.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian Ad Litem. I don't know if I said that. I think that's the important ones.
Well, that's what we're
And
going to
I'm
talk
in
about
Lake Mary,
today.
Florida.
And
Huh?
pardon me?
I'm in Lake Mary, Florida. So that's in Seminole County.
So you are going to talk today about Guardian Ad Litem versus parental coordination. Now, I just want to say to some Canadians, we call that up here more like the Children's Office of the Children's Lawyers, as well as they can be called Children and Youth Legal Centers and stuff. So similar
Okay.
but different than what you do. But I just wanted to say if anyone from Canada is listening, but if you want to kind of explain the differences and first maybe and then you can explain why people may need either or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So Guardian Ad Litem, when I'm talking about what I do, is in family law. So that's going to be in divorce and paternity cases and remodifications and things like that. There are also guardian ad litems for dependency cases, which is when children have been removed from their homes or from their parents or guardian. That's something different. That is a volunteer-based position. And for Florida, I think it's just called Florida Guardian Ad Litem. I am the child, or something like that
Mm-hmm.
is their website. And so that's a little bit different than what I'm going to be talking about. And Guardian Ad Litem is something that comes into play if there are concerns about the well-being of the children, or perhaps there is one of the parents who's out of state or out of the city, so they're not really sure what's going on with the child. Perhaps they haven't seen the child in months or years. Sometimes is the case, and sometimes a guardian ad litem will be brought on to figure out what's going on. Obviously, because the judge can't drop what they're doing. There are thousands of cases to do something like this. So a guardian comes onto the case to investigate what's going on. And we look at both households. Typically, if there's going to be any kind of shared parenting, it's essential to do that to make sure that it's a safe environment for the child. And we have interviews with the parents, guardians, with the children themselves, anyone who's relevant, anyone who knows anything about the child. So teachers, I do school observations, work, if work is a thing that they do, and then pulling any kind of relevant reports like police history, calls from both households, DCF reports, and DCF here is the Department of Children and Families, and that is when there are possibilities or of abuse or neglect that have been called in. There will be a report. Even if it's a non-founded report, that report is still on file for me to be able to view. And then anything else, medical records, speech, anything that the kid does, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all up in their business. It's a very, I tell parents up front, this is a very invasive process. I've been through it myself, so I try to have as much empathy as possible
Mm-hmm.
and make it as easy as possible for them. I don't go into this with the desire for anyone to fail. And if people have the motivation and the desire to spend time with their children, then I give them goals to work on that to be able to do so. So it's
So what is it a commonly used, like Is it
It
commonly
it is
used?
pretty commonly used because it's not only when there are allegations of mistreatment, it also comes into play when it's just a very contentious case.
Mm-hmm.
If there's just so much back and forth litigation that the judge gets tired of it or can't figure it out, doesn't have time to figure it out, then they'll also put a guardian onto a case.
So is it generally the judge orders it, or is it the parents can
Mm-hmm.
as well?
The parents can request it, but it
Mm-hmm.
has to be appointed through a
Okay,
court.
so it's more court ordered then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So,
typically I'm either found by judges or attorneys. Sometimes parents with this, but a lot of times even if the parent suggests it, then the other parent, they're already waging this war. So then the
mhm.
other parent doesn't want it and then they have to go to court for it. And then they have to choose multiple names. And a lot of times the judge chooses because the judge is the neutral. So
So what's the general length, like approximately? Because I know it's unique for everybody, but how long does it take you to, I know, like how long does it take you from start to finish, estimate approximately? Do you know?
well, it is best practice typically to have our final report completed within 90 days
Okay.
of being appointed.
Mm-hmm.
But I sometimes like when cases go more slowly than that. If they don't have any litigation, any pending litigation like hearings or anything like that, or mediation, then that is the time that I will put goals into place for the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I will collect data on that goals so then I can give an updated report. So sometimes I'll do that where I do an interim report initially with the goals for the parents to achieve, and then I'll put whatever needs to be in place to help them, whether it's getting them a social worker to help them get services or
Mm-hmm.
therapy or whatever else can help. And I will watch to see if that parent is following my suggestions, and then that will be in the final report. So
Yeah,
it
so
depends.
it's a lot of work, really.
It
But
is
what
a
I
lot
do,
of work.
so what I,
Yeah, and I'm on the case for the whole time, usually.
so how many times a week would you be like, I'm just curious, would you be like in their house or in there, is it like you said, it's intrusive, is it like,
Mhm.
always around, like you're hovering a lot?
No, it's not intrusive like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's typically one visit per home
Okay.
unless there are other things going on, unless concerns arise. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I will do unannounced home visits or unannounced school visits, but it's not like I'm there
Right.
all of the time. I mean, hopefully I haven't had a case like that that's required something like that yet, and hopefully I don't. But sometimes I won't hear from them if they're doing well. If they don't have any litigation out, I may not hear from them for a couple months.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's nice.
That's where you want them to be,
That's
right?
right. That's where I want them to be. It's not needing the court, not needing any of the officials in the process. So
So that's your official role for the Guardian Ad Litem, but parental coordination is not quite as serious.
it is not, so it's still court appointed, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come with that very long, scary order that says I can collect any documentation I want as a
Mm-hmm.
guardian ad litem. It's not like that for parent coordinators. So it's not as invasive, it's not as involved. Typically, a parenting coordinator is getting appointed toward the end of a case where it's kind of
Oh.
to help the parents communicate effectively so they don't go right back to court after their case has finalized. So a
Mm-hmm.
parenting coordinator can be on a case for up to 2 years after they're appointed.
Oh, it's 2 years.
It can be.
It
It
can
doesn't
be, wow.
need to be, but yes, it can be.
And that's just trying to get them to get into the co-parenting groove of everything without having fighting and stuff. Is that,
Yes,
you
so
know?
that's really big on communication and following court orders, following the parenting plan, and potentially making smaller changes to parenting plans. It can't be something huge. They would have to go back either to mediation or litigation to make a huge change,
Mm-hmm.
but small things can be changed with a parenting coordinator.
How common is that? Is that more common than the other one, or is it about the
Um,
same?
I I would say that it seems to be about the same.
It's about the
I
same.
don't think I do hear oftentimes from attorneys that there are not many parenting coordinators
Mm-hmm.
and there are almost no male parenting coordinators. So if we have any males who are
Mhm.
listening who want to do something like that, I'm sure you would be highly sought after if you were to get qualified.
Mhm. So another question is what are the qualifications for the two? Like, is there a, it would seem that might be slightly different. I don't know. Are they different?
They are slightly different. So there's not a Florida, the Florida statute for guardian ad litem. Let me actually see if I can pull it up. But from what I remember, it is not as, it's not like a full list how it is with a parenting coordinator, where I think it is at least, I don't even want to say it because I feel like I'm going to be wrong. But I would have to look up what it is for guardian ad litem. But it is not as restricted as you would think it would be.
Mm.
We kind of have free reign of our own processes and procedures.
Mhm.
Parenting coordinator, you would need to either be a Florida bar licensed attorney or board certified attorney, a mediator with a master's in mental health, or a licensed psychologist, social worker, marriage and family therapist, or mental health therapist.
Mm.
I think I'm correct on those three. And you have to
Yeah.
be certified or licensed in your particular category for at least 3 years.
Right. Now, the parental coordinator or coordination, is that also court ordered or is that
It
the
is.
parents as well? It's
It's
court
court
ordered.
ordered. It's something just like guardian ad litem where a parent
Mm.
can request it, but it has to be approved by the judge and then appointed by the judge.
So if you're in a highly conflict divorce and you're hearing this, which, for the best interest of the child, which would be the better, easier, and for you as well, which is the better route? Like, which is, if you could try to get one of them, if you needed help but you didn't, which would
Mm-hmm.
be the easier one on you and the children?
It depends on it depends on what the problem is. I mean, if there
Right.
are serious allegations, then I would think that a guardian ad litem would need to be there
Mm-hmm.
because a guardian ad litem can have access to all of that information.
Right.
It's just the parents are bickering, but there's no concerns about the children's well-being, then you could have a parenting coordinator and that should be fine. But you can have
Right. So I'll do.
both. I mean, it just can't be the same person.
Right. Makes sense. Right. So you get the
Mm-hmm.
first, go through you first, and then go through the parental coordinator after to make sure everything's on. Yeah.
Right.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know, it's really good to know these things, right? Like, we hear all about them, but unless you're going through divorce or have been through divorce and you're about to get divorced, you really need to know
Mm-hmm.
what these things are, right?
Yeah. And I did hear when I did the parenting coordination training, they were talking about cases that they have done. And sometimes you can be on a case while it's ongoing. And they were saying that sometimes they would get onto a case and then realize that case also needed a guardian ad litem.
Mm.
So then they would figure out a way to kind of say that to the judge and then hopefully get that person appointed to figure out some of the larger concerns.
So then you put it like in a package, and then you give it to the judge, and the judge looks it over, and then they make a court order.
As far as a parenting coordinator, excuse me, a parenting coordinator requesting a guardian ad litem.
Mm-hmm. Like, as, yeah.
I don't have specifics on that because you do have to follow confidentiality and all
Mm.
of that. So that was that was the kind of thing that we were talking about, ethical gray areas of you
Mm-hmm.
can't just break the parents' confidentiality and say this is happening in the home.
Right.
I think there needs to be a guardian ad litem. So you have to figure out ways to go about it. And I think at that point, you would have to collaborate with your mentors or other parent coordinators,
Mm. Yeah.
other people on the team as far as attorneys and whoever else may be on there.
Yeah, it can get a little tricky, I suspect.
Yes, it
Uh-huh.
can.
Yeah.
Anytime it's an ethical gray area, it can get a
Mm-hmm.
little tricky.
There's a question here. Are you guys writing these things in form of blogs as well? One of my last clients was into family law segment. Only we used to write lots of blogs based on case study.
Okay, I'm not currently, but actually right now, my updated website has been in the works for the past couple months and should be launched, I think, at the end of July. and I know that they are going to be setting me off with 3 blogs. So I could request that something like this be one of my blogs, or in the future, maybe have a guest blog writer that wants to write something like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously it's an important topic, right? And as I said to you before, when you're exploring or you're going through it, education is really powerful, right? Because at least you kind of know this is what this is, and this is what this is, and you know that will help you, and understanding the process as well. That's why I want to know what the processes were with both, right? So people understand the differences between the two, and I guess that's why we're talking today.
Yes.
Right?
Because I didn't even know the differences between the two. Before I did the parenting coordination training, I had an idea in my mind of what I thought it would be like. And I'd say I was about 85% on par with what it is, but I didn't realize that oftentimes they would already have a parenting plan into place and that you could only make small changes. So I've heard that you can, if they don't have a parenting plan, would be really rare, and you can have them come up one with you, but that's almost never going to be the case. And I was thinking that it would, so that was something that I was incorrect about.
Right. That's why I guess we're trying to get this out there more, right?
Yes.
Because
And that's why we have to do continuing education. It's required for all of the things that I do to make sure that I'm up to date with the laws and anything that changes.
Yeah. We do a lot of good work because I know you, and I know you really care. So you're helping families as best as you can, right?
I do.
It's a tough time.
It's
a tough time. Yeah. It's a tough time. And so I guess for families, knowing that, that they can trust the Guardian Ad Litem as well as the parenting coordinators also would be helpful too, right?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that I've felt as a client, as a parent, is that having people on my case who weren't available for me to talk to, and I didn't feel like had that empathy piece, is not a good feeling. You just feel like you even have less control of your case and your care over your children.
Yeah.
So
it's already a really hard time as it is.
To my clients. I mean, they can call me and say, whatever, my child just did such and such. I'm having a crisis right now, and I'm there. I'm available.
Which is why you do what you do, and you do it well. So,
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Elyse about this important topic?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see it too. I never use Instagram Live. I'm not very good with this one.
No, we did it. We did it. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk some about pre-suit mediation too. I didn't know if you wanted to go to 12:30 or 1. That's up to you.
We can come back again.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
I know you have lots of things because of your specialty and your credentials too. I'd love to have you back on to talk about, what did you mention before?
Pre-suit mediation. Completing your entire divorce or paternity case in mediation without having to litigate it all.
Yeah, I think that'd be because I think that's where the trend is trying to go.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to get away from using litigation for everything, right? So that would be another good topic that we should talk about.
Absolutely. And if you follow me on social media, I'm all about pre-suit mediation right now.
Oh, so a question is, what about parental alienation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That could be another topic we could talk about as well.
That's a topic we could talk about. That's a blog topic we can talk about. And that is something that is addressed by, I'd say, more so Guardian Ad Litems than parenting coordinators.
Have you ever seen that? Have you
yeah.
ever seen it?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's pretty common.
Yes, it is. It can be.
Yeah, my mom had that with my older sister. She didn't see her for 10 years.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and that was years ago. So there wasn't as much education and knowledge about now. But yeah, at least we could talk about that one. And that's 2 topics already that we could talk about, because it's really hard on the targeted parent with these parental alienation and coercive control. So, but yeah, so I'd love to have you back on. and we'll talk about another one of those other two great topics.
Okay.
And if any other questions, you can DM a divorceworkshop.ca, or Elyse, how do we get in touch with you?
My Instagram one, I think it's Serenity_family_solutions, I think is Instagram. Or my website is serenitymediationfl.com, FL like Florida. That's going to be updated when the new website comes out too. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be Serenity Fam.
That's good.
I'll be hip like the young people, Serenity Fam.
Well, good for you. Good for doing all your good work. And we'll talk soon. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
No problem. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.